Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here because today we're going to look at language in a completely new way. Seriously, I want you to stop thinking of language as this boring list of rigid rules in some dusty textbook. Instead, imagine it as a giant, colorful bucket of building blocks. Every single time we speak, write, or honestly even just think, we're literally snapping these blocks together to build our ideas. So today, we're going to figure out exactly what those blocks are, how they work, and most importantly, how you can use them to master any language so much faster.
All right, so here is our game plan for today. We're going to start with number 1. What is Lexis? Then we'll cover kinds of word meanings, followed by words in context. After that, we'll look at building bigger words, how words connect, and finally, wrap it up with learning words in chunks. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. What exactly is Lexis?
You know, if you've ever flipped through a language textbook, you've probably seen the word Lexis and thought, wow, that sounds incredibly technical. But let's just strip away that intimidating jargon right now. Lexis is literally just the academic word for vocabulary. That's it. It refers to the individual Lego blocks of our language. Now, a unit of Lexis can be a single individual word like tree or apple, but it can also be a small set of words that act together as one single block of meaning, like get up or first of all. These are all units of vocabulary. They're the basic, essential pieces we absolutely need before we can even start building sentences.
Moving right along to Section 2, kinds of word meanings, or the layers of our blocks. To really understand this, let's go back to our word tree. The very first layer of meaning is what we call the denotative meaning. Think of this as the word's official ID card, right? It's the literal, standard dictionary definition. So the denotative meaning of a tree is a large plant with a wooden trunk, branches, and leaves. But words also have a figurative meaning. Think of this as the word wearing a Halloween costume. It's using the concept of the word in a much more imaginative or symbolic way. For example, when we talk about a family tree or the tree of life, we obviously aren't talking about a literal leafy plant sprouting right in the middle of your living room. We're using the idea of branches and roots symbolically. And you know, grasping both the ID card and the Halloween costume of a word is absolutely crucial for truly mastering Lexis.
Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds. Words in context, how surroundings matter.
حسناً، دعونا نتحدث الآن عن علاقة الكلمات بالسياق، أو ما نسميه باللغة الإنجليزية context. دعونا نفكر معاً في هذه الجملة. لم نتمكن من رؤية المنزل بسبب الأشجار العالية أمامه. الآن كلمة عالية أو tall هنا لا تعطينا طولاً محدداً بالأمتار، أليس كذلك؟ فكيف عرفنا بالضبط مدى طول هذه الأشجار؟ ببساطة عرفنا ذلك من خلال المنزل. بما أننا نعرف مسبقاً أن المنزل عبارة عن بناء كبير، فإن الأشجار التي تستطيع إخفاؤه بالكامل يجب أن تكون بالضرورة أطول منه. السياق، أي الكلمات والموقف المحيط بالكلمة، هو الذي يعطي معناها الحقيقي والدقيق. بدون السياق، الكلمات تبقى مجرد قوالب صامتة لا تخبرنا بالكثير.
Transitioning back to English for Section 4, building bigger words, snapping blocks together. Just like you can take a main Lego block and snap smaller pieces onto it to completely change its shape, we can do the exact same thing with words. We use a process called affixation. Say we start with a base word. Let's use clear. In step 2, we snap a little piece onto the front, which we call a prefix. By adding un, we get unclear, which instantly flips the word to its opposite meaning. Then in step 3, we can snap another piece onto the back, called a suffix. Adding ly gives us unclearly. And suffixes are amazing because they can completely change a word's job in a sentence. Like if you take the verb instruct and add I on, boom, it turns into the noun instruction. It's incredibly efficient. Just by learning one base block and a handful of attachments, your vocabulary literally multiplies.
But wait, it gets better. We can also snap 2 entirely separate base blocks together to create what we call compound nouns. You take the word telephone and the word number, stick them together, and you get telephone number, a very specific concept with a totally new combined meaning. The exact same thing goes for book plus shop becoming bookshop. The new word means something different from the individual pieces it's made of.
Which brings us to Section 5, how words connect, hanging out together. Now, what's really interesting here is how a word's social network is structured. Take the adjective clear, for example.
It's not just sitting out there all isolated. It has friends, synonyms, which are words with similar meanings, like simple or certain. And it also has enemies, antonyms, words with opposite meanings, like confusing or unsure. So whenever you're learning a new word, you should always be asking yourself, who are this word's friends and who are its enemies?
Let's rapidly break down a few of these vital word relationships. First up, lexical sets. These are groups of words that all hang out in the same topic area, like words for furniture or food. Then we have word families. Remember affixation? These are words that all come from the exact same base word, like real, really, and realistic. Next are homophones. These sound absolutely identical when you say them out loud, but they have different meanings and usually different spellings. Think no with a K and no with an N. Homonyms are tricky. They have the exact same spelling and pronunciation, but completely different meanings, like the muddy bank of a river versus a bank downtown where you keep your money. And finally, a huge warning for beginners, false friends. These are words in two different languages that look or sound super similar but mean completely different things. A classic hilarious example is the Spanish word embarazado. If an English speaker feels awkward and says, "Estoy embarazado," they are definitely not saying they're embarrassed. They are announcing to the entire room that they are pregnant. So yeah, always watch out for false friends.
And finally, Section 6. Learning words in chunks, the ultimate shortcut.
So, the crucial point we need to make here is that native speakers do not build every single sentence block by block from scratch. That would take way too long. Instead, they use pre-assembled chunks. One huge type of chunk is a collocation. These are words that just naturally occur together all the time. For example, watch out is a very strong collocation. We say it as a single rapid-fire idea. Have you rain is another one. We'd never really say fat rain or thick rain, right? Contrast that with a phrase like watch the postman. Sure, the words watch and postman can logically sit right next to each other, but they don't pop up together often enough to be a recognized chunk. Learning strong collocations is the absolute best way to sound natural and recall vocabulary in a flash.
Beyond collocations, we also have chunks that are completely 100% unchangeable. Fixed expressions are phrases like to tell you the truth or newborn. You can't just swap the words out, it's a fixed package deal. Then we have idioms. These are a wild kind of fixed expression because the meaning is entirely different from the individual words inside it. Like being under the weather means you feel sick. It has literally nothing to do with standing out in the rain. Having green fingers just means you're really good at gardening. And this brilliantly illustrates how language is a lot like baking a cake. When you bake a cake, the flour, eggs, and sugar all combine to create something entirely new. You can't unbake the flour out of a finished cake. Idioms are baked language. You cannot separate, translate, or swap the individual words around. You just have to learn and swallow the whole slice of cake as one single piece of meaning.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. I really hope you can now see that vocabulary isn't just some boring list to memorize. It's this incredible, interconnected system of blocks, layers, and baked cakes. So I want to leave you with one final thought. What new word chunks and contexts will you notice out in the real world today? Now that you know all about collocations, idioms, and context, keep your eyes and ears wide open. Treat every conversation, every article you read, and every song you listen to as a fascinating puzzle where you can spot these building blocks in action. Thank you so much for focusing in with me today, and happy learning.